Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, let me start with you. Did I hear you say in your opening statement that there's no link between mental health and social media use?
Hey folks, Freedom Forge here. Your home for truth, common sense, and standing up for American families against big tech and big government overreach. Today, we're talking about something every parent in America needs to hear. Senator Josh Hawley absolutely grilling Mark Zuckerberg in front of Congress about social media's harm to our kids and Zuckerberg's total lack of responsibility. Let's break down what happened, what it means, and why, as patriots, we must demand accountability from these out-of-touch Silicon Valley billionaires.
Senator, what I said is I think it's important to look at the science. I know people widely talk about this as if that is something that's already been proven, and I think that the bulk of the scientific evidence does not support that.
Well, really, let me just remind you of some of the science from your own company. Instagram studied the effect of your platform on teenagers. Let me just read you some quotes from the Wall Street Journal's report on this. Company researchers found that Instagram is harmful for a sizable percentage of teenagers, most notably teenage girls. Here's a quote from your own study. Quote, "We make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls." Here's another quote. "Teens blamed Instagram," this is your study, "for increases in the rate of anxiety and depression. This reaction was unprompted and consistent across all groups." That's your study.
Senator, we try to understand the feedback and how people feel about the services. We can improve.
Wait a minute. Your own study says that you make life worse for 1 in 3 teenage girls. You increase anxiety and depression. That's what it says. And you're here testifying to us in public that there's no link. You've been doing this for years. For years, you've been coming in public and testifying under oath that there's absolutely no link. Your product is wonderful. The science is nascent, full speed ahead, while internally you know full well your product is a disaster for teenagers.
Senator,
and yet you keep right on doing what you're doing. Right?
That's not true. That's not true.
Let me show you some other facts I know that you're familiar with. Wait a minute. That's not a question. That's not a question. Those are facts, Mr. Zuckerberg. That's not a question.
Those aren't facts.
Let me show you some more facts. Here's some information from a whistleblower who came before the Senate, testified under oath in public. He worked for you. It's a senior executive. Here's what he showed he found when he studied your products. So, for example, this is girls between the ages of 13 and 15 years old. 37% of them reported that they had been exposed to nudity on the platform, unwanted, in the last 7 days. 24% said that they had experienced unwanted sexual advances they'd been propositioned in the last 7 days. 17% said they had encountered self-harm content pushed at them in the last 7 days. Now, I know you're familiar with these stats because he sent you an email where he lined it all out. I mean, we've got a copy of it right here. My question is, who did you fire for this? Who got fired because of that?
Senator, we study all of this because it's important and we want to improve our services.
Well, you just told me a second ago you studied it, that there was no linkage. Who did you fire?
I said you mischaracterized.
37% of teenage girls between 13 and 15 were exposed to unwanted nudity in a week on Instagram. You knew about it. Who did you fire?
Senator, this is why we're building all
Who did you fire?
Tools. Senator, I don't think that's...
Who did you fire?
I'm not going to answer that.
Because you didn't fire anybody, right? You didn't take any significant action.
It's appropriate to talk about
it's not appropriate.
HR decisions.
Do you know who's sitting behind you? You've got families from across the nation whose children are either severely harmed or gone, and you don't think it's appropriate to talk about steps that you took? The fact that you didn't fire a single person? Let me ask you this. Have you compensated any of the victims?
Sorry?
Have you compensated any of the victims? These girls, have you compensated them?
I don't believe so.
Why not? Don't you think they deserve some compensation for what your platform has done? Help
Senator,
with counseling services? Help with dealing with the issues that your services caused?
Our job is to make sure that we build tools to help keep people safe.
Are you going to compensate them?
Senator, our job and what we take seriously is making sure that we build industry-leading tools to find harmful content,
make money,
take it off the services,
to make money,
and to build tools that empower parents.
So you didn't take any action. You didn't take any action. You didn't fire anybody. You haven't compensated a single victim. Let me ask you this. There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now?
Well,
they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
I'm sorry for everything that you have all gone through. It's terrible. No one should have to go through the things that your families have suffered. And this is why we invest so much and are going to continue doing industry-leading efforts to make sure that no one has to go through the types of things that your families have had to suffer.
You know, why, Mr. Zuckerberg, why should your company not be sued for this? Why is it that you can claim, you hide behind a liability shield, you can't be held accountable? Shouldn't you be held accountable personally? Will you take personal responsibility?
Senator, I think I've already answered this. I mean, these
Well,
are
try this
serious
again.
issues.
Will you take personal responsibility?
Senator, I view my job and the job of our company as building the best tools that we can to keep our community safe.
Well, you're failing at
and
that.
Well, Senator, we're doing an industry-leading effort. We build AI tools
nonsense. Your product is killing people. Will you personally commit to compensating the victims? You're a billionaire. Will you commit to compensating the victims? Will you set up a compensation fund
Senator,
with your money?
I think these are
With your money.
complicated- Senator, these are complicated
Yes,
issues.
that's not a complicated question, though. That's
Senator,
a yes or no.
this is-
Will you set up a victims' compensation fund with your money, the money you made on these families sitting behind you? Yes or no?
Senator, I don't think that's my job is to
Sounds
make sure
like
that
a
we
no.
build good tools. My
Sounds
job
like a
is
no.
to make sure that
Your job is to be responsible for what your company has done. You've made billions of dollars on the people sitting behind them. Are you here? You've done nothing to help them. You've done nothing to compensate them. You've done nothing to put it right. You could do so here today, and you should. You should, Mr. Zuckerberg.
All right, let's set the stage. Mark Zuckerberg, the king of Facebook, now calling itself Meta, walks into the Senate hearing with his usual robot face, thinking he'll dodge tough questions like he always does. But Senator Hawley, a real fighter for parents and families, doesn't let him off the hook. And Zuckerberg, smooth as ever, dodges. Says the bulk of scientific evidence doesn't support the link. Are you kidding me? This is the same guy whose own company's internal research shows Instagram is making mental health worse for teenage girls. 1 in 3. Girls say their body image issues get worse with Instagram. That's not a small number. That's an epidemic. Let's be honest here, folks. If a small-town diner served food that made 1 in 3 kids sick, it would be shut down overnight. But Zuckerberg, he's made billions. Billions? Off the pain of American families, and he wants to play the victim. He wants to pretend there's just debate about whether social media is hurting kids. That's insulting. And then Senator Hawley brings up the whistleblower. Real data, not just feelings. 37%. Of girls aged 13 to 15 exposed to nudity on Instagram in a single week. 24% faced unwanted sexual advances. 77% encountered self-harm content. This is what's being pushed to our children. And Zuckerberg's answer to "who did you fire?" is silence. No one. No accountability. Typical. You see, this is the problem with big tech. They love to talk about community guidelines and AI tools, but when it comes to real consequences, nobody ever gets fired. Nobody loses a bonus. The only people who pay are our kids and families. And Hawley asked the question every American parent wants answered. Have you compensated any of the victims? Are you going to apologize? Zuckerberg's response? I don't believe so. He basically admits that helping these kids isn't his job. His job is to build tools. No, Mr. Zuckerberg, your job is to do no harm, and when you fail, you make it right. Let's talk about what's really going on here. Zuckerberg isn't just hiding behind lawyers, he's hiding behind Section 230, a liability shield big tech uses to avoid responsibility. If a car company knew its vehicles crashed every third time you turn the key, they'd be sued into oblivion. But big tech? They get a free pass. And when Hawley asks if Zuckerberg will take personal responsibility, even set up a compensation fund, the answer is, surprise, no. Not with his money, not with his billions. He'll keep cashing checks while American families pay the price. Folks, this is why we need conservative fighters in Congress. The left is too busy worrying about pronouns and censorship to care about the real-life harm happening in our homes. But patriots like Hawley are doing what every parent wants, demanding answers, demanding accountability, and refusing to let these tech billionaires buy their way out of trouble. Here's my opinion. We need to break up big tech. No company should have this much power over our kids' minds, bodies, and futures. We need to yet repeal Section 230 protections. For these monsters, if you make money off children's pain, you should be sued like anyone else. We need to get our kids off these platforms, until they're safe, if that's even possible. And most importantly, we need leaders who aren't afraid to stand up and say, enough is enough. If you agree, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. Let's show Zuckerberg and every big tech billionaire that American families are done letting their kids be guinea pigs for profit. Drop a comment below. Have you seen social media hurt your family? What do you want Congress to do? Let's get loud and make our voices heard. This is Freedom Forge, standing up for truth, family, and freedom. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.